what numbers you have in mind for women entrepreneurs coming on SME platform?
Honestly, I don't have any numbers right now. But I agree with you, the number of women coming for SME IPO, that's less. At the end of the day, he may hit a jackpot or the investment may go down south. That's the role market has to play over there. We don't have any role or we don't have any say in that. But we also ensure that if there are any promoters or companies which are going down the fault line or coming close to getting a red card, we take corrective actions so that they fall in line. I may crib about the pressure, I may crib about work and all that stuff, but at the end of the day, I like doing.
Wonderful. No, please continue doing it because इससे तो industry को help हो रही है. SMEs in India contributes to 30% of India's GDP. Country which is pegged to be the fourth largest economy globally. This is the sector where the maximum stories of gut, grit and glory comes out. This is a sector where I have seen every listing of a founder opening up dreams into many out there waiting in the line. Story of rags to riches, dream coming true, stories of triumph is something that will always resonate on the floors of listing when these SMEs get listed on the board. I am today with a very special guest, a guest who is probably in a loop, an infinity loop of risk management and governance, because that's what he does round the clock. My guest has an experience of working with regulators, always watching out for the regulations that are positive, that are progressive. Incredible professional from the industry, which is Indian capital markets. Ankit ji, thank you so much for joining us. That's Ankit Sharma ji, the Chief Regulatory Officer from NSE.
Thank you, Jyoti. Thank you so much for your welcome and having me on the show.
Every story of a listing is a story of triumph. It's a story of one more person coming out for the one fundraise for which the exchange has set up an amazing, robust SME listing platform. What if these stories are not real?
I would say the stories may go bad, yes. But as a frontline regulator, we ensure that the stories are real. And this is done by ensuring that the merchant bankers who come up with the offer document for the issuers, they do thorough due diligence on the documents, provide the accurate numbers, the financial numbers, giving information about the company, and also stating out all the risk factors which the investor should be aware of. So from a document perspective, from information to the retail investor, institutional investor perspective, at the time of applying to the IPO, we ensure that all fair and accurate information is available in public domain so that the investor can take its own decision at the time of investing. But at the end of the day, he may hit a jackpot or the investment may go down south. That's the role market has to play over there. We don't have any role or we don't have any say in that. But at the end of the day, we also ensure that if there are any promoters or companies which are going down the fault line or coming close to, let's say, getting a red card, we take corrective actions so that they fall in line.
Ankit ji, thank you so much. That really helps to put the context. Founder's story may not be right or wrong. It is about the due diligence that is run on each story. And it starts with, of course, founders. My next question to you is, of course, for the audiences and for the listeners, if you can tell us as a Chief Risk Officer at NSE, what is your role?
So I am the Chief Regulatory Officer and I look after all the aspects related to listing at NSE, and I also look after the investor complaints, grievances. So my remit runs to the listed world and to the investors both. This is something which I love doing. I started with that, so I'm more comfortable doing that. I may crib about the pressure, I may crib about work and all that stuff, but at the end of the day, I like doing.
Wonderful. No, please continue doing it because इससे तो industry को help हो रही है. It's a very common question and the equally confusing question which I keep hearing is, what kind of due diligence is run on the founders and who runs it?
So the first level of due diligence is done by the merchant bankers. They will ensure that the person whom they are engaging with is a genuine person, right? You can't have someone who's having just an empty shell out over there and coming out with an IPO for XYZ crores. Then at the end of the day, the next level of due diligence, once they put in all the information which I mentioned about earlier in the document, we look at the document and see if there are any loopholes, if there are any gaps, or if there are any red flags in those documents. And at the same time, we do a due diligence on the founders also, checking their background, checking their authenticity, whether they have been at any point of time being debarred by any regulator, or any of their ventures were under IBC, etc., etc. Their credit worthiness. Apart from that, just for your information and for your listeners and viewers, we also do a site visit of the factory or their office to ensure that they have something working over there. And this site visit is done at random. We don't inform them. So we want to see the outfit running out over there, the shop running over there. We do that, and we keep those photographs with us.
And you do a physical visit at these verification to see things are fundamentals, as I said, right? Yeah. Oh, fantastic. Didn't know much about that.
Way back in the 90s, we had the examples of vanishing companies, etc. I think it's a learning from that, but this is something which we very zealously do. So and be it in any part of India, NSE official will go verify the site and see, let's say, for example, if they say that I've got 12 workers, 12 employees in my office, we'll try to do a head count. It may not be 12, it could be 10.
It could be even less.
Talk to the neighbors, just do some testing out over there and get information.
I think this is fantastic. Now you can complete, you are completing a picture for me, which we were discussing earlier. While we are speaking about the founders, I will still take the point on women entrepreneurs. The numbers are definitely quite scantier and small. Yeah. But I'm sure you would agree somewhere there are many in the pipeline that would be just waiting for inspirations or two and hand holding and guidance. What numbers you have in mind for women entrepreneurs coming on SME platform?
Honestly, I don't have any numbers right now. But I agree with you, the number of women coming for SME IPOs, the women entrepreneurs, that's less. And that is the structure that we have. If you look at the financial sector, which you have been a part of, we have got fantastic participation by the fairer sex over there, even at leadership positions. And how that has happened, that has evolved over a period of time. In this field also, we need some more incentives by the relevant authorities for women entrepreneurs to come in, get themselves listed out over here, and then take that forward. But you have planted an idea in my head. So we'll work on this and see how it can be done, and then take this forward and try to get as many female entrepreneurs listed on the Emerge platform.
Absolutely. In fact, if I have planted in your head, in fact, it got planted in my head when I was last in NSE, that I too can be a listed company.
Why don't you?
Yeah. Wow. We are getting it. I
think it's not a promotional thing, so we can discuss this offline. But anyways, I seriously, I think that is something, because we are seeing a lot of women professionals in this sector, not even financial sector. When I see the list of KMPs, or when I see the list of professionals working with these SMEs, we have got lots of CFOs and company secretary, which are of the fairer sex, and directors also. So I think that's one level has been achieved. We need to step up our efforts to get into the next level.
The sound of that commitment and that support that you want to unleash for the sector, that's what I said when last I was at NSE. I was so motivated by your team that even I could see a dream. And what bigger than getting yourself listed one day? Absolutely. And if one can become a torch bearer, so to say, with the support from the ecosystem, why not? What would be your message to women entrepreneurs listening, if you can give it to them?
My first message would be to start building the base. I think you will start your business by taking credit from a bank, by loan from a bank, or by dwelling into your personal finances. Build a small viable business and think bigger to take it to the next level, right? And once you think on that, you need to have a roadmap ahead of you. You need to be surrounded with some serious professionals, because this is one thing which I've seen amongst entrepreneurs, is that they are too passionately involved with their work that they don't focus on the regulatory requirements or other requirements, and there they lose the focus as far as their bigger ambitions are concerned. So they may be damn good at their work, but at the end of the day, if they lose focus over here, public money is not going to come in. Right. So you have to be surrounded by right professionals, be it your company secretary, be it your CFO, be it your directors. After that, the next step for you is to assess whether this is the right time for listing or not. If you think it is, you can go to our website and see what are the listing requirements. You can reach out to us to figure out the listing requirements, or you can contact a merchant banker. You can have an engagement with a merchant banker who will guide you through the whole process and will take you to the listing board.
Fantastic. I think you answered my another question through
did
this.
I?
Yes, of course. So, but anyways, यहाँ बैठी हूँ तो कुछ questions तो वापस पूछूंगी. Of course, while your website and information that we are getting is quite comprehensive, but yet there is always a demand for more curated support. You know, like bunch of folks that probably lands up on NSE and they get inspired by watching this video that we want to list, now tell us the way. What will be your message to such people coming together to say कि मुझे list करना है NSE जवाब बताएं
So
कैसे?
before I answer that question, the other thing which I want to tell our viewers is that as NSE, we conduct programs along with professional organizations throughout the country regarding SMEs.
Right.
And there, if someone is keen and you should look at our website to figure out where we are conducting our programs. And people, especially female entrepreneurs, if they are in the city, they should go over there and attend it, meet our people over there to get more understanding, because physical interaction and getting a verbal understanding is far more important than what you read on the website or something. But having said that, if you want to talk to us, you can drop in a mail. The mail ID is there on the NSE website. Drop in a mail. In fact, before you called me for the interview, there was a query not pertaining to SME but by a lady only for some other segment. At least take the effort to drop in a mail.
Yeah.
Just drop in a mail and let's see how it goes.
Yeah. No, I can vouch for that support, and everything that I have reached out to NSE, I have always got a very supportive response. Now let's go to a part 2 of the regulations itself. There has been a discussion by the regulator on pump and dump in the SME space. Of course, just like as you mentioned, wearing a quasi regulators had that this is not a platform of speculation or investor needs to be protected. But this is not just the exchange ownership, right? It is a market participants who have to collectively warm up for a single agenda that that helps fulfill the SME listing requirements or the purpose for which is set up to bridge the gap of funding. My question to you is that in the entire sphere of things, while exchange is doing everything in its capacity, what is your expectations or the responsibility distribution with other service providers?
Okay, let's do it step by step. The first responsibility at the entry level lies with the merchant bankers. They have to do their due diligence properly and thoroughly to ensure that the right kind of documents and the right kind of companies are there in the SME space. Number one. Number two, now the stock gets listed. What do you do? You mentioned pump and dump. So pump and dump is an age-old way where scamsters come in and manipulate the market. The regulators are based on the experience, based on understanding, and based on the wisdom, have put in various measures to ensure that such schemes are nipped in the bud. They are checked as and when they start. There could be some bad apples, and those bad apples are taken care later. But having said that, the first responsibility lies with the broker. The broker should see what kind of trade his clients are doing. And for that, the broker needs to do a thorough due diligence and proper KYC of the client. What sort of a client is that? Is it a client who's just trading in one particular script, in a particular price, at a particular time? What sort of financial background does the client have? Whether his trading is commensurate with his financials or not. So let's say, for example, if a person is trading, let's say, doing a trades of 50 lakhs per day, but his annual income is shown 10 lakhs.
There's a disconnect.
There is a disconnect. So there is the second one. Then, of course, at our end, we have strong surveillance measures, and we do pick up all these noises which are there on the market and in the social media. Believe me, social media is a very good source of information for us. We look into that, we examine those, and then figure out whether it's really pump and dump or it's just trading. Sometimes there is a wave when people flow with the wave also at the time of trading. That is acceptable. Or if some hanky-panky is going on, then definitely we are going to escalate it. and SEBI is going to come down very harshly and heavily on such players.
Right. No, thank you for that message. And sometimes this messaging is very, very important. But if I have to kind of sum it up, what Ankit is trying to say is that the road to listing is a long one. You can take whenever you want to take. The preparation itself will take you a little longer. Take the right market participants like merchant banker. The information is there on NSE website. But the first protocol to follow is to get a good advisor well in advance. And so these checkpoints are kept because at the end, while you are coming to the exchange for listing and bridging your capital gap, there are investors that are going to be investing and backing you up. And this will be made possible by the exchange infrastructure and the roles of market participants. So listing is aspirational drive. It is also a drive which requires you to follow regulatory protocols very thoroughly. There are no shortcuts. Coming back to sharing of the trust and the way distributors and market participants play role, if everybody is playing their role well and perfect, what do you see the next 3 years if we have to crystal gaze? How would the exchange space really unfold?
So I would focus on SME Jyoti because
SMEs,
that's the topic of our discussion.
Yeah.
So if you may recall that in the economic survey, this year's economic survey, the government has had a special emphasis on the MSME.
Yes.
And the government's plan is to provide as much support to MSME to bridge their capital deficit, to remove the compliances and the regulatory burdens on them. So the latter is what government does. I think the capital deficit, which one of the banks had come out with a number of $540 billion. This is the space where that can be bridged to some extent. I'm not saying 540.
It could be huge, yeah, of course.
It could be whatever it could be. And I'm looking at, I would say, a very vibrant SME market where the SME sector, in a sense, when these companies, they get listed, they not only play a pivotal role in the Indian economy, but at the same time also develop broadening and deepening of the SME market, the emerged segment of NSE.
Yes.
And if you look at that, the way you look at it, this will not only ensure that entrepreneurship gets rewarded, that is one. Secondly, it would also inculcate a culture of governance amongst SMEs. And once you have that, investors will have more faith. And not only the domestic investors, but foreign investors will also start having faith in the Indian SME story. So we'll see more money coming in, which is good for the whole SME sector, for the whole market ecosystem.
Wow, no, I think that's really set the tone very loud and clear. Would it be fair to say that if you are a well-governed SME, following all the necessary checks and balances, investors are ready to pay you premium?
Absolutely. Look, investors are concerned about the return. And if they see viability in your business, and if they see that the right kind of people are there, then they are more than happy to put in the money. So, I mean, we have seen in the last decade or so, investors really rewarding good governance companies on the main board. And I don't see any reason why the same model should not be followed for the SME segment.
Awesome. I think that's the fantastic way to really wrap up the outlook of a chief regulatory officer of an exchange. Clearly not mincing word, but conveying that there are perks to be regulated, there are perks to be good governed companies and be the founders of SMEs that you will be proud of setting up and getting listed. Listing will provide you with your required capital and the whole process, as you already know. But what will also listing gives you is the access to so much more. And you need to have the right level of governance and professionalism to really make the most of this. Last but not the least, Ankit ji, what is your message to the ones waiting in the line?
Simple. Be honest, be truthful, and be committed to your passion. Don't look for short-term gains. Try to play a test match. It's a long-run match, and you're going to be the winner at the end of the day.
Which are the new sectors that have come in the space thanks to the SME exchange?
We have been able to support some drone-based company, some SaaS, especially in edutech space, and some merchant bankers have hired junior level research analysts who are trying to dig deeper into the entire ecosystem and trying to find a good pipeline for them.
What is NSE doing to enable researchers?